Should we hold up our teacups to introduce ourselves?
Yeah.
I love that idea. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. I'm Allyna.
And I'm Charlotte.
And this is the afternoon tea. Cheers. A fun fact, Charlotte got these teacups about 20 minutes ago on her way to my apartment from
Mother of Junk.
We Love It There. Okay, so in this little intro video, because this is our first one, yay, slash podcast episode, we'll kind of get into like how we met, who we are, but we're also two small town girls who moved to the Big Apple.
The big city.
And yeah, there's a lot that comes with that. There's culture shock. There's a lot of like change and difference.
And smells.
And sounds. And people. So yeah, we'll kind of like talk about all of that. But first, I feel like we should kind of start off with like who we are.
We are both working girls.
Yeah.
We are both assistant merchandisers for the same brand. Should I tell them where we work?
Yeah.
We work for Lucky Brand. Don't come for us.
Please. But maybe we'll get you a discount.
Yeah. We met because last year I went out on medical leave for my hip surgery, my PAO surgery, for like 3 months. And we have a lot of work to do at our job, so there's no way that it was going to go unworked.
Yeah.
So we hired Allyna. I didn't personally hire her. Somebody else did, but I'm really glad that they did.
I know. It was kind of like the perfect scenario because, I mean, not because you had to get surgery.
Yeah.
But before I got hired there, I had like just gotten laid off from a different company I was working for. And after a few months of just like hoping something would fall into my lap because, you know, rent in New York City is expensive.
Not good.
An opportunity at Lucky Brand fell into my lap. And my role was essentially just like to take over your position for a few months. Mm-hmm. And then who knows where I would have gone after that.
Yeah.
But I feel like it just worked out so well where I was able to stay and then you came back. And then we were able to like blossom into this really beautiful, unexpected friendship.
Yeah.
And here we are.
And I wouldn't be here without you. Oh my God.
I know, same. I would die. I think I would have quit a long time ago. I hope no one from Lucky Brand is listening.
Yes.
I have texted Charlotte several times saying you are the only thing getting me through.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of hard work, okay? And it's very lean team.
It is. But we hold the fort.
Yeah.
I love that for us.
But circling back in, I moved to New York City. Mm-hmm. I moved to New York City in 2017 to go to FIT, Fashion Institute of Technology.
Killing it.
I almost didn't go to FIT. I almost went to SCAD, which I'm really glad I went to FIT.
And that's what, the Savannah College of Art and Design? Is that it?
Yeah. More expensive than FIT, surprisingly.
Whoa.
So, yeah. I also almost didn't get into FIT. That was really hard. I had like an in-person interview anyways. But I lived here for a long time during that, obviously. And then the pandemic happened. Weep womp. And FIT was totally closed. So I had to go back to my little town in Ohio, Green, Ohio, a little suburb outside of Akron. And I was going so insane going from New York City back to Ohio. And then when I graduated, I lived in Denver for 6 months and I hated it. And I moved back to New York City and I've been here ever since.
And I'm so glad you're here.
Me too.
For me, yeah, I feel like we both, like, because you had this journey that was very also not linear, you know, where it's like you went to school here, you ventured out, and then you came back here. And you also had to go home for a period of time, like back to your small town. It's a lot of change. I grew up in West Virginia, in a little small hometown.
I will say your town looks a lot cuter than my town. My town feels like it's just like off a highway exit.
Okay, yeah. I do have to say I have a lot of pride for where I grew up which you need to come visit. Okay. I'm gonna take you there and we're gonna have fun because there's a lot of like outdoorsy things to do. You're also not too far from the Washington D.C. area.
Yeah.
Like I grew up in Charlestown, as well as like the adjacent towns, which is Shepherdstown and Harpers Ferry. Like those were the 3 towns that I ventured into a lot. And I feel like they really shaped who I am. But I'm curious to know if you felt this way, where I had wanted to live in New York City from the time I was probably in middle school.
Yeah.
Like I was like, West Virginia is not it for me.
Yeah.
Like this is not where I am meant to stay. And New York City was just always on my mind.
I'd always been kind of a city girl. I'd traveled like a lot growing up into different places. Since I was a gymnast, I like had went all over the Midwest, Northeast, whatever. But we had gone to Chicago multiple times for like this huge like gymnastic meet. And my dad had a friend who like had an apartment in Chicago and we would go stay. It was like this really nice penthouse. I have no idea how I knew this man, like from work. And I just loved like walking around the city. And then my sister moved to Hoboken when I was in like high school. And I like visited New York City like for the first time when I was like really little. But I had always just had like this like angst, like this yearning to like be in the city because I love to like do things and see people like go out on the street, go for a walk, go
have
to
the
a coffee
accessibility
shop.
to just
because I feel like sometimes when you're like sheltered in like a small town, like there's fun things to do in my town, but it's not like it's like the same things over and over.
You can't just walk out and have a whole like adventure.
Yeah. And also just like being around so many people because it can get so lonely in this small town.
Yeah.
But then especially like after my dad died, I was like grieving. I just felt like I really didn't belong anymore.
Yeah.
And everything like kind of just felt like I was living in an old museum in my town. And then I feel like when I got to high school, I started to like get into art and get into fashion. And I was like, I don't belong here anymore. Like, blah, blah,
you're like,
blah.
I'm destined for more.
Yeah, being really probably annoying. So
that's okay, same.
Yeah. And here we are. I mean, I'm sure if my sister hadn't lived in Hoboken, then I would have like still probably ventured out. But yeah.
Yeah, I think it's funny to see how organic it can be though for us to end up where we are right now.
Yeah.
Like I had always wanted to live in New York City, but I didn't go to school for fashion. I went to school for international relations and political science, and I minored in women and gender studies, which is still like near and dear to my heart. I loved that minor. I loved the courses. I loved the professors. But there was this yearning the whole 4 years where I was like, I just want to be in fashion. I want to be in fashion. I want to be in New York. And my senior year of college, I took a fashion course. It was called Design Concepts of Dress. And it was about like making mood boards and like trend reporting and all of this stuff. But my senior year was like the start of COVID. So I took that course in the spring semester, and then after a month, COVID hit, and that was kind of it for my like college experience. And then I had really wanted to move to New York, but obviously everything was locked down, and I took like a little detour. I was home for a little while. I had gone to South Carolina for like a second. Then I moved back home. And I was just so desperate. Like I would have dreams just waking up, like thinking I was in the city, and then I would wake up out of the dream and be like, damn it, I'm home.
That's crazy.
Right? And then I finessed my way into the fashion industry.
Yeah. What was your first job title again?
So I was an assistant buyer for Burlington.
Yeah. In New York City.
Yeah.
How did you, I don't know why I thought it was Ross for a second.
I mean, same thing.
So how did you sway like getting an interview for like a fashion role when like your only like experience was the 1 semester class?
I think I took the like little tiny nuggets of things that I had done and I ran with it. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes people will like ask me like how I got these jobs or whatever. I mean, like, yeah, you can have experience like on your resume, like people from FIT have these really like great internships, whatever. But I feel like what really does it if you can fake it till you make it and really wow them in the interview.
Oh yeah.
And give them a little pizzazz. You have to be confident in knowing what you're talking about.
Exactly.
Even if you have no idea.
Yeah.
What you're talking about.
I definitely, I don't even remember like how the interview went because that was almost 4 years ago. But I think I had elaborated on what I had done from that class. I was like, oh yeah, I have experience trend reporting.
Yeah.
And then so I had a government job out of college at first.
Right.
Because that went right in with my degree. And some of the stuff I was doing for the government included procurement. So buying items for agencies. And so that was obviously not to do with fashion, but I just didn't specify what I was buying or anything. I was like, oh, I have experience in procurement, blah, blah, blah. Like, and I think that was just enough for them to be like, yeah, she knows what she's doing.
What she's doing.
But I did not like buying. I did not like fashion buying. It was not fun. It was a lot of numbers. It was like no product, no creativity.
Yeah.
And so that's what made me interested in merchandising. But even then, like, I still feel like I'm on a journey to just experience more of the creativity and less of the numbers.
For our viewers who don't know us, but don't know our everyday life, a merchandiser is kind of like a mix between buying and design, I like to say.
Yeah.
We're like buying our product and doing the math, but we have like a planner who's doing like more of our serious numbers. But then we're also like assorting, which is like soon we're going to sort spring 2026 where we put a bunch of product on the wall. We sort it out by month and we decide what we're going to buy, what we like, what we don't like, if we need to change anything. So, I mean, yeah, it's like there's product involved, but there's also a lot of Excel. We do a lot of hard math. We sum ifs and we VLOOK up and we do all this stuff.
We're doing formulas. Yeah. We're solving word problems that I didn't know I ever had to do past the 12th grade.
It hurts my brain, but it low-key like makes us pretty smart.
It really does. Like I know how to tip while at a restaurant.
Yeah. I know how to do things. I know how to do my own taxes.
Exactly. I file my own taxes. Shout out to being able to file your own taxes. But it's so true. And I am such a creative person and I'm excited to keep exploring the creativity, which is also why doing this podcast is so exciting to me. And I think for you too, like we both are just creative girls. And you know, I think being able to exercise that part of our brains is just who we are. And it's something I want to prioritize more in my life.
I definitely need to get back into having a creative outlet because I feel like I used to be better at like painting more after work or like doing whatever. But now I feel like I just like work and then I read and that's about as creative as my mind gets. Is reading being creative?
Yeah.
You're using your muscle.
Exactly. And you're using your imagination. You're having to picture these characters.
Yeah.
So I think you are definitely being creative. And I think we're in an era, too, where we can both encourage each other to tap into creativity more.
Yeah.
Which is why this is here. Yeah. But I kind of wanted to ask, like, when you first moved to the city after living in Ohio, what was that experience like? Like, was it really jarring at first? Was it scary? Was it exciting? Like, I'm curious to know kind of the emotions that you felt.
I feel like I know everybody's different, as I know some people who've come and gone from New York City just thought maybe it wasn't for them. But I feel like I was ready to live in New York City, so it wasn't super scary, but there were definitely like experiences that were like super tough as you do. Like, I hate to say like have to have somewhat of a thick skin to live here.
Yeah.
But even things like going to the grocery store, like I had just at the time FIT was on like 27th and 7th. So I'd have to like walk 15 minutes, like Trader Joe's, and like lug my groceries.
Yeah.
And that
you couldn't just pop it in your trunk.
No, and like you had to be fully prepared for whatever weather was bringing you.
Yep.
But my first freshman year, like I had moved within the dorm like 3 times because I had like crazy roommate experiences and like just like I don't know what it's like to go to a normal college, but sometimes I feel like in New York City there's a specific like type of people. Sometimes there's people you can come across who are trying to be somebody, trying to make something of themselves, like trying to get famous or like trying to be like a good designer or like something like that makes them a little outwardly like selfish or not treat you well, whatever. Right. So that was something to get used to. And also, like, sometimes you don't have, like, a lot of privacy and you have to learn how to cry on the street. I remember after all those roommate things, I were crying, like, in the park, like, on the phone. I was like, that is your rite of passage as a New Yorker, is, like, crying on the street and crying on the subway.
Oh, 100%. I have definitely cried on the subway and the street.
Yeah, I feel like crying on the street is, like, less bad than crying on the subway because on the
street you can move past people.
Yeah, and then, like, on the subway, you're just like...
I know, I'm like, don't look at me.
Yeah, but I haven't cried on the subway in a long time, actually. That was mainly a thing when I was, like, younger and, like, more emotional and going through a lot, so I'm proud of that. It, like, ushered me to be more independent, like, as a young person. Because, you know, FIT wasn't like the normal college. We had a lot of homework to do. My mom likes to call it the Harvard of fashion schools. I feel like it was like an Ivy League from how much work I had to do, how much I had to focus. And I wasn't like out like partying. I had fun, but I wasn't like out partying like all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. No, I think that makes sense. I feel like when I moved here, because in college, I studied abroad for a semester and I lived in Strasbourg, France. And that was a very walkable city once you were like in the city. I had lived in a chateau, which was about 30 minutes outside of the city. It was
a chateau.
A chateau. It was this beautiful French chateau. And there was complimentary breakfast every morning because it was also a hotel. So there was like a student floor, but then every other part of it was a hotel and diplomats would stay there. Like it was beautiful. I think the like head of the chateau, he has a picture in his office shaking hands with Obama. It was crazy.
Wow.
And I loved the breakfast. I would get a chocolate croissant, cheese, a pain au chocolat, a croissant. Sorry for any French person listening. But it was so fun. And then I would take just public transportation to my classes, which were in the city. And so I was kind of used to walking around there. And that was a culture shock of its own, like moving somewhere that
whole other ass country.
Literally not knowing anybody. I was so homesick at first because I was like, I don't know anybody. I don't know this language by heart other than just like the little bit of knowledge I had, you know, and new grocery store. It was such a new experience, and my safety nets, my people were thousands of miles away, and it was hard at first to just have to learn how to cope on my own.
Yeah.
I think that's it. It's like learning how to self-soothe is really hard.
Yeah.
But I think it kind of set me up for living here in New York because I had gained the experience of how to self-soothe, of how to occupy myself, how to just like put myself into spaces to meet people.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, when I moved here in 2021, you know, I was still like pretty young. I was 23, turning 24, I think. And I didn't know, I knew one person who fortunately became one of the most dear people in my life and introduced me to so many people. Without her, shout out to you, Raina, it would have been a much harder experience trying to like start from scratch. But I kind of felt like I had this little entryway of getting a community, and then naturally I built my own community. But I feel like that was really hard at first.
Yeah, it's always good to have like a person you maybe know in the city to like introduce to your friends. I mean, anytime like someone moves to the city, like so my past roommates, whatever, I'm like, come hang out with me and my friends.
Yeah.
Like your friends are my friends. But I feel like was a little easier for me because when I first moved here went to college and like
Mhm.
I still have all my friends from college. But when I moved to Denver, I didn't know anybody like except for my cousin and like my coworkers.
Oh, wow.
So I downloaded Bumble Friends. And I'm still friends with some of the girls that I met on Bumble Friends, and
No
some of
way.
them were just a little kooky, but but it was a little nerve-wracking
Yeah.
to go on a friend date. I felt nervous, more nervous, I think, going out on like a friend date
Yeah.
versus like a Bumble boy date.
Yes. I kind of love that. I feel like it's because we care more about
Yeah.
how we're perceived by
Yeah.
like friends or women or something. Like we hold them to almost like a higher pedestal than some.
Because some of these girls are like, wow, your profile looks so cool. Like, I want to be your friend.
Yes.
But
getting a compliment from a woman is so much better.
Yeah. It means, I feel like, a lot more.
Yeah, it's a lot more sincere.
But now I'm still like making new friends and like I try to like go out and do new things. But I will say, like, yeah, living in a city, like it's very easy to isolate yourself. Even in a city full of people, you can probably feel so lonely if you're just hanging out in your apartment all the time. It's always good to try and do new things and take yourself out on like solo dates, like go to a museum, go to a restaurant, whatever. But I love like taking art classes and like going to new book clubs and like doing things like that like keeps me on my toes and like seeing new things.
I think so too. And to your point about like the loneliness, it's so true because when I first moved here and I didn't quite have the community yet, I could, walk down the street and be surrounded by so many people, but I still felt so alone because like I would see people getting brunch with their friends and stuff. And I remember just feeling like, I want that. I want that community. And then when it happened, and I'm totally on the other side of that where I've built such like an incredible community of people and I love my friends so dearly, I know what that's like. But I kind of love that I came here from a very small group, like it feels more impactful. It feels more like, I don't know, just I'm more grateful for the community I have now because I know that there was a point when I first lived here that I was like, will this ever be my city? I feel so alone.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how I kind of felt about Denver. I was like, and I had moved there because I had tried to live in another city. My life before the pandemic was just like really stressful. I was working a lot and going to school, and I don't know why. I just was like very burnt out. I got very, very burnt out. I felt like I was like a working 30-something.
Yeah.
But then like I had my break and my time, and then when I came back to the city, I was like, wow, things don't have to be so crazy like this. But I feel like I kind of had to rekindle some friendships and because I'd been away for so long. I mean, so long, like a year? Yeah, almost 2 years.
Wow.
But and some people had moved away. Some of my close friends have really moved away, and now I feel like I have like a good bubble of like super like good and close friends and genuine friends. Because I think sometimes too, it's like, oh, I don't have that many friends. You don't need to have that many friends. You need like a couple good friends,
like a support system. And I feel like, I mean, it's such a common thing to say, but quality over quantity is like they say that for a reason. And this city, I think sometimes it can feel so quantified because there's so much to do. There are so many people, there are so many opportunities. But one of the most beautiful things I have found in living here is making it feel smaller in ways. Like I love taking advantage of everything it has to offer, but I also don't need to overwhelm myself with trying to do everything and befriend everyone or whatever. I think, there's something really amazing about finding your go-to spots, having your go-to people, and of course still branching out, but also having that like core thing,
being a little local.
Being a local, because that's it too, is like we are small town girls.
Yeah.
I love having a localized feeling community.
Yeah.
I love having a sense of routine, familiarity. And so I think it's important, no matter where I am in life, to foster that in some way.
That's why I also like living in Williamsburg. I feel like there's so many like places I can quickly go to. For some people, I feel like always have to take the train further in to where they're going.
Yeah, we can just like step out of our apartments and walk around.
Yeah, there's nothing better than knowing your barista. Something about that relationship,
especially when they know you.
Yeah,
like you become a familiar to them.
They're like, oh hey, how's it going? Or I love when they're like, oh, I haven't seen you in a while. And I'm like, I know.
I know. It's so prevalent. Oh my gosh, I remember there was this one when I was living in downtown Manhattan. There was this place, this restaurant that I always went to, and I would just go by myself sometimes. I would just go sit at the bar, and I befriended like everybody that worked there. And so often I could just go in, and the bartender would be like, all right, you want an iced tea? And I was like, yes, I do.
Yeah.
And same thing at, there was another restaurant around here, around my apartment now, that I used to always go to. And they like knew my food order. They were like, you want the zucchini chips, the Greek salad. And it was zucchini like, yes. Chips. Oh, they're so good. They're so good.
Yeah, I hate to be annoying, but I'm a local at Winson, the best place on the planet.
Oh, yeah. I wouldn't have known Winson without you, and I can't believe we've never gone together. Well, actually, no, we did that one night.
We did, yeah.
But the first time I went was not with you.
Yeah.
I know, I'm sorry. It was so good. Their mochi donut. Yum.
I feel like my secret is you gotta go at nighttime because they're open late. I ain't waiting in that line on the weekend.
No. God, no. Also, like, kind of back to the whole thing about trying new places and like you know, you mentioned going to like art classes and stuff. I feel like the benefit of living in New York City, even if you're from a small town, is that there is a lot to do.
Yeah.
You know, like, yes, there is this culture shock. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm not in Kansas anymore.
Yeah.
You know, but there's so much to do that you can easily like get into spaces, get a sense of routine in a community. But I feel like if it's like the opposite, like if you're moving somewhere that's more rural or more low key, I feel like that can also be really hard.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, I don't have anybody, and how the hell do I meet anybody? But I feel like there's, no matter where you live, there's always communities around, you know?
Yeah.
Like I feel like it's so important to especially utilize social media and see like what are some local events happening. Maybe there's like a winery close by where they're doing art classes. Maybe like, because I can even think in my hometown, if somebody moved to Jefferson County, West Virginia, and they didn't know anybody or whatever, I could still list off so many places to go to, like communities to join. I feel like it's probably the same where you're from.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like it's a little more like dispersed. Like you have, like really have to get in your car and like drive. But yeah, there's things that I still love to do. Like when I'm home, I like to go hiking. There's some wineries I like to go to. My mom and I going to the Goodwill. But I feel like it's a more slower paced life. I feel like one misconception, though, I will say about New York City is that people are like, you're always on the go, go, go. And I feel like
it's kind of what you make it.
It's just kind of what you make it. Like I'm not constantly like doing things.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still taking time to like reset and do whatever. But I feel like when I go back to Ohio, I'm like, oh my God, I'm spending so much time on my phone. I'm like, I do not need to
like,
be
what
looking
am I
at TikTok. But over the pandemic,
true.
I was like going insane, and I would like hike all day and just be in the woods.
I love that.
Praying, meditating, and like talking to myself.
And going a little crazy. Honestly, that's so fun.
Yeah.
I feel like when I first moved here, though, it's funny because there's so much to do here, I could not sit still. Any moment I had inside at night, I felt guilty. I was like, I'm missing out on something. I'm wasting away. And so I was in such this headspace that like, I need to do something every night. It was crazy. When I first moved here, I was going out, like, I swear to God, 6 days
You were having
week.
feral girl summer.
I was having feral girl summer for, like, a good year and a half. Good year and a half to 2 years.
I mean, this was like when I was at FIT, I literally was like not sleeping. I was like,
yeah. Oh, I would be out till like 4 a.m. and then go to work the next day.
Oh, absolutely
not often, but it happened. It happened, and now I'm like, there's no way.
Yeah.
A, I mean, I'm so accustomed to it. B, I don't have that stamina anymore.
No. If I stay out till 4 a.m., I am
dead for 2 days.
Yeah.
And then I might revive.
Yeah.
No, it's so true. I feel like it's nice to be settled because I don't have this anxiety that I'm not doing enough. I feel like when I first moved here, I had this anxiety that like, I'm not doing enough. I need to do more. Everybody in the city is so ambitious, and I am also so ambitious. Yeah. And I felt like I needed to like stay at that level.
Yeah.
And I still get that sometimes where I'm like, oh, you know, this is a city of so much possibility and opportunity, and I want to make sure I'm taking it to its full advantage. But it's also where I live, and I need to treat it like a home too.
Yes. Yeah, it's nice to feel like it's a little devil on your shoulder and in your ear, like, you need to get up, you need to do more, you need to write this, you need to paint that, you need to do this, whatever.
And then the angel's like, or maybe you just chill.
Maybe you are enough.
Maybe you are enough.
But we gotta give ourselves grace. I definitely felt that way with my health when I had to like rest and be on bed rest all last summer. I'm like, you know what? We have so much time.
Yeah.
So much time in the world.
Exactly. And so you just have to like listen to your body. Yeah.
Can't do it all at once.
No, you can't. And so like, why would you stress yourself out with that? And I also think it's good if you're moving somewhere new, you can't expect that your life is going to look exactly how you want it from day one. Right, it's like, you might not have all the friends that you're looking for. You might not have all the community things or the classes or the whatever it is that you want. It's a slow growth. Yeah. And I think it's important to remember that.
And I don't even know. I don't know if it's just in order wise or whatever, but I feel like my life now, I'm loving so much more than when I first moved back to the city after the pandemic. I feel like, I don't know if I just found more of my people. I like chilled out.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't like being stir crazy, but it was just maturity.
And maybe that's just our frontal lobe being developed.
Also, I feel like if you're maybe younger moving here, it's different. Or if you're like on a different like path in life, that sometimes like everybody's like handling things differently. Right.
Yeah. And I think everyone's journey is unique.
Is their own.
But I'm happy with where I'm at. Yeah. And like where I've come from.
Yeah.
And where I'm going.
And we remember our roots. Our ruts.
We remember our ruts. Our small town roots. And you know what's funny is when I like grew up in West Virginia, I felt embarrassed to even admit I was from West Virginia. Granted, I was near the DC area. So like I would always say, oh, I'm from the DC area. You know, if anybody not
Why are you
from
embarrassed?
Virginia, I think because West Virginia has a lot of stereotype.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stereotype. Some people don't even know it's a state. It has its reputation.
Yeah, it does.
And I get it. You know, it's like it's very conservative.
Yeah.
A lot of people there have really never left. Yeah. So it's like, I don't know. There's a lot I could say, but I do not want to be offensive. Yeah. So with that being said, I was embarrassed living there, like growing up there. I never wanted to admit it. But now that I am out of there, I have so much pride for growing up there. Like I would not be who I am without like living there, kayaking, putting my feet into the river, like running outside in my several acres of land at my parents' house with my dogs, you know, helping my dad garden in the back, like bringing fresh vegetables to the table. That is my roots, and I'm so proud of it, and I'm so happy. And I feel like in this city, I take who I am, and like I remember who I am when I need to, and it just regrounds me, you know? And I think there's something, like if I lived here my whole entire life, I feel like I'd be missing out.
Yeah, I know. I honestly couldn't go like a few months without visiting Ohio again.
I love visiting home.
I mean, like, it was hard being home. Last summer was also like I got to like see Ohio summer. They call it the rolling hills, the cornfields, the big trees.
Oh, so pretty.
And our little winery with goats.
Oh my god, I love a goat.
I love, like, growing up, running around. I spent all my time outside, my feet in the grass. I hated wearing shoes in the grass. Yep. It was just my toes.
Yeah.
But, I mean,
feel that earth, girl.
Obviously, I don't know if I'm going to live here forever or raise kids here. That's a topic for another day, maybe.
Yeah, I like that.
Not that we have children or anything. Well, we do, actually. It's Petunia.
Yeah. Charlotte's cat, Petunia.
Which child. She's Ohio turned city girl. She is. Yeah. I mean, like, when I go home, I visit my brother's house where Petunia's from. It's so beautiful. Yeah. Like, next to all these, like, cornfields and cows and their little pastures, at the right word. And it's so beautiful. And I'm like, how lucky are we to experience the duality of it all? The duality of it all. It is poetic. Yeah. And I love it. Yeah. And I feel like I'm so appreciative of like where we came from. Yeah. And I love being a city girl. And when I go back to West Virginia, I love being able to say, like, I live in New York. I'm a city girl. But, I also am still a small town girl. I'm both. Heart. Yeah. We're both. Yeah. Because we also exhibit the duality. Yeah. And I love it. And I think, yeah. I feel like, and I'll cut this out. We're at like almost 40 minutes. Are we? Yeah. Wow. So I feel like, should we give our little like in some extra? Yeah. I think that we can do hard things even though they seem scary and ambiguous and ambitious. Yes. Moving to a new city seems really daunting, but sometimes you just gotta jump and do it. I remember I've had many people tell me, like, oh, even though you didn't like living in Denver, it's really impressive that you moved like all the way across the country and moved to a new. Yeah, like we stepped out of our comfort zones. Yeah. And in doing that, we have gained a lot of like experience and perspective. And knowledge. And also I feel like you can't be scared forever. Yeah. You're always going to wonder, what if? Even if, like, reaching out to someone you may know in a city, you can't be scared forever. Right. Send that text, like, hey, what are you up to tonight? Yeah, don't be afraid to, like, put yourself out there. And, if you just move somewhere that you don't know anybody, like, just go for it. Like, just go to the restaurants by yourself. Yeah. Sit at the bar, start talking to the bartenders. Yeah, I saw Twitter, I was like, how do you guys go to a restaurant by yourself or a coffee shop? They're like, I literally can't do it. And I'm like, yes, you can. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. I've done it. Bring a book. Yeah. Have a drink. Yes. Honestly, going to a bar and sitting at the bar and talking to the bartender is the easiest way. I mean, granted, maybe this is really annoying for bartenders. So maybe this is not good advice. But it is kind of the easiest way to, like, go somewhere and not feel like you're totally alone. You don't even have to talk to the bartenders. Yeah. But I feel like it's, like, a fun way. And there have been so many times where naturally you just get sucked into conversations with people that are sitting around you. Yeah. And, yeah. So I think, like, if you move somewhere new, you can do hard things. Yeah. Get in your communities. Yeah. Put yourself out there. Yeah. Step out of that comfort zone. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I hope you guys, so fun. Yeah, that was so fun. I hope you guys enjoyed this. We have a list of upcoming topics, but if you guys ever want to hear anything that we possibly have to say, please comment anything that you want us to talk about. Yes, comment below. Yeah. And listen to more of what we have to say. Join our little afternoon tea. Yeah. Grab your teacup. Have your tea and coffee with us. Yeah. We're inclusive here. We're here to let in communities. Yeah. And we want you to be a part of it. So like, comment, subscribe. Give us a follow. Give us a follow. Like. And with that, we'll see you next time on The Afternoon Tea. Mwah.